PitchPoint with me, Mary-Jannet Leith. Today it's another episode from my Scottish trip a few months ago. I'm from Aberdeen, where my father, Ronald Leith, is an organist and the city Carillon. As a child, I often climbed up the bell tower of St Nicholas Church in the city centre to watch him playing the amazing 48-bell Carillon there. And a couple of months ago, we went up together and did a little filming. Of course, the carillon really is an early music instrument with its origins in the 16th century in Belgium and the Netherlands. And it's there that you'll find today still lots of carillon towers with lots of different people playing them. It's often the local organist who plays the carillon, as the technique is kind of similar, as you'll find out. So off we go up to the bell tower. Right, so you are seated at the console, as it were, of the carillon. When did the carillon develop? Because it's very much an early instrument.
Oh yes, certainly. You remember how the wires came down through the floor and onto this frame, and by hitting these claviers, the clapper is brought against the bell and it sounds. Well, this is a very simple mechanism, and it is completely unchanged since probably about the 15th century. That's when we have the earliest descriptions of carillons. By the year about 1700, carillons were being made and cast by the firm of Hemony, and they were working in conjunction with the blind carillonneur, whose name?
Jacob van Eyck.
Jacob van Eyck. And the name of Jacob van Eyck, of course, is familiar to thousands upon thousands of recorder players.
Oh yeah.
So it was he, with the firm of Hemony, started the carillon. And apart from slight adjustments to the way that it's played, making it perhaps slightly lighter, there's been no change in the instrument at all.
And what is the purpose of it? Sort of traditionally, of course, you have many of them still in the Netherlands, where they play on the hour and you can go to recitals and that kind of thing.
Well, it was a matter of civic pride. It's rather like organs as well. The organs in the churches were built by city councils as an emblem of city pride.
I've sat in Bruges Square listening to a carillon recital. Absolutely fantastic.
The repertoire of music for the carillon is more or less continuous from the 18th, 17th and 18th century right through to the present day, with modern composers and carillonneurs writing for the carillon. And
you also play kind of fun things as well.
Oh yes,
yes. Sort of popular music.
Yes, I mean variations on Frère Jacques and
Beatles
and popular tunes from television and all sorts of things.
So yeah, brilliant. And how does it actually work from the perspective of the practical playing it?
Well, it's touch sensitive, which means that if you strike a casual blow like that, now you see that I'm not really hitting it. I'd start breaking my fingers if I did that. The dowels here are rounded so that you flick with your wrist.
Oh yeah.
This means that you can play a melody with your right hand. Or you can actually play it with your left hand, and you adopt a slightly different technique there. And you can see here now there's a pedal board, like an organ, and most carillonneurs also play the organ.
Yes, otherwise it would be quite challenging.
Yeah, and again, you can bring the melody out with your feet. You can play more than one note at a time, of course, in chords. And fairly rapid tremolos.
And then you also have, I mean, it's quite sort of physical in general, and if you play the chromatics, you can sort of end up going chromatically up quite fast.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yes, I love that. That's my favourite thing.
Now each bell produces a pronounced overtone of the tierce, or the minor third. So if you were to play a chord, say, of the diminished seventh, which is made up of minor thirds, you get a lovely pure sound. But if you try playing a major third, especially in the bass, then the minor third
gets in the way.
Gets in the way. So you have something like this.
Oh yes, that's horrible.
Which is horrible.
And the tuning isn't sort of 440 by any means, is it? It's
Well, this one here is a major third below, so what you're actually hearing is a G sharp.
Yeah.
Or E flat.
So if you have perfect pitch, that's quite strange. Yeah, brilliant. So now we're up in the bell tower with the bells. So how many bells do we have here?
Well, there are 48 bells, ranging from the very large one here, which strikes the hour, and that weighs 4.5 tons. And then the rest of the bells, as you can see, the larger bells are right at the top, and the smaller bells here right at the bottom. And they cover a range of some 4 octaves. The mechanism is very, very simple. You see the clappers of the bells are attached to the wires here, which come down onto this frame here and mysteriously vanish through the floor to the floor below. But if I pull the wires like that, the bells sound. There's no way of damping the bells. The sound just continues. The smaller ones have a very limited amount of decay, but the larger ones last for a fair amount of time.
And this is actually a very high bell structure, isn't it? And above this is the clock mechanism.
Yes, that's the clock tower, and above that there are 2 further floors that take you right up to the apex of the steeple.
So how did these particular bells come to be in this tower? Because it's quite unusual to have such a large carillon in this day and age in the UK.
Yes, it is. It all started in 1874 when there was a disastrous fire which consumed both the East Church and the central tower. And the central tower at that time was a small wooden affair with half a dozen medieval bells. And all these crashed down to the floor and were smashed up. Now, when they were deciding how to rebuild the church and the steeple, one of the town councillors had the idea of installing a carillon of 37 bells, which would commemorate the Golden Jubilee of Queen Victoria in 1885. So this was adopted, and bells were ordered from the firm of Van Ayerschoot in Belgium. And when they were ready, they were shipped over to Edinburgh, put on the train, taken up to Aberdeen, and paraded through the streets on horse-drawn lorries. And eventually the great day came when the citizens of Aberdeen were to hear their bells. Now, although these bells are in a church tower, they don't actually belong to the church. They are civic bells, and that is because the citizens actually paid for the bells through a public subscription. And there was a bit of an argument to begin with about who should have ownership of the bells, but eventually it was decided in favour of the city council. And they own the bells, and that is why the music that can be played on these bells is not of a sacred nature necessarily, but can be almost quite frivolous.
Well, maybe we should play something.
We're talking about the music that's played. Some of the earliest music was collected and published. This is as a manuscript. It dates from 1746, and it contains quite a large number of minuets, andantes, marches, jigs.
Mainly anonymous, right?
Many of them are anonymous, but some are by Couperin, and
probably
there's a composer called Bellier. Fiocco, the Italian composer.
And is this from the Netherlands? This
is from the Netherlands, and it was compiled by a gentleman called Johannes de Gruyters of Antwerp. He was the Klokspilter, the clock player in Antwerp in 1746.